Welcome back to Ray's Talk Show. This is your host, Ray Collazo. Thank you so much for joining us, Ray's Talk Show, where we're talking about the issues that are impacting our community and not just getting our perspective on these things, the kind of perspective like our wonderful special guest in our first segment of today's show, but also talking about solutions. What can we do about it? How can we raise our voice in unity and using all the incredible talent in our community to do this incredible things? Thank you so much for joining us. You can catch Ray's Talk Show anywhere. You can download a podcast. People ask me all the time, oh, where do I listen to your show? Anywhere you listen to podcasts. I'm talking about iTunes, Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, anywhere you download a podcast nowadays, which is like the thing. We've been there for several years. Check out Ray's Talk Show and Ray's Talk Show and Ray's Podcast on social media. This Sunday, and, we've been chronicling here on Ray's Talk Show the ongoing humanitarian crisis impacting the island of Puerto Rico. We always have to repeat that we're talking about 3.5 million U.S. citizens, a community that's produced the most military veterans per capita of any other, and many other incredible contributions to not only the Puerto Rican community but to our whole country. And I wanted to bring on someone on the show who is not an elected official, not someone that gets paid to talk about politics or get involved in these kind of activities, but just an activist, someone that felt compelled to make a difference and to stand up for her family and her community. And I'm so proud to have her on the show. We're going to talk about her journey as well as big events coming up in the coming days and months that are going to move our agenda forward as one to stand up for the Puerto Rican community. Entrepreneur, activist, and the leader of Puerto Rico Strong, Wanda Mora. Wanda, welcome to Ray's Talk Show.
Thank you, Ray.
So Wanda, I think we're from the same area. I live probably about 20 minutes from your business, your beauty salon, and I think our paths have crossed. But I must say that your presence on Facebook and your presence through the Puerto Rico Strong campaign, and now the Unity March of Puerto Rico, which is coming up this weekend, and other events you're involved in, really kind of caught my eye, and been following what you're doing the last few months. But let's start from the beginning, Wanda. As Hurricane Maria was about to hit Puerto Rico, start from there. In those moments where the hurricane was about to hit, and the quick aftermath, where did this journey begin for you?
Well, the journey began actually. Irma was, predicted to hit Puerto Rico and do sort of the damage that Maria did, if we all recall. I was a little concerned about my father. My father was 82 years old, and he had Alzheimer's and was living in a nursing home. So after Irma, we felt like, a relief because we could still communicate and everything was fine. Hurricane Maria hit, and I don't hear from him for about, I guess like 5 days or so. And I started to get a little worried because I kept calling and I wouldn't get a response. So my boyfriend and I decided that we would take a trip to Puerto Rico on 10/7 to visit him, make sure he was okay, and we figured, why not open a GoFundMe page and help out as many people as we could while we were there. Unfortunately, a couple of days after our plan, we heard the news that my father passed as a consequence of the hurricane. He was having a small heart attack, and he was taken to the hospital where there was no electricity. So, directly or indirectly, there have been many deaths, and the indirect ones, like my father's, isn't counted in those people. So we lost him, and then, in his honor, I figured that I would just keep going. Once you are there, it's a whole different ball game. You feel like you can't leave. You know, it's very surreal, the whole experience from the minute you land at the airport till the minute that you leave.
And well, first of all, Wanda, our condolences, our sympathies on your loss. What was your father's name again?
Jose Mora, Jose Angel Mora.
And I'm sure he lived a good life. You know, your family, he's very well, even before we got to know each other through this experience, your family locally is very well respected. And again, our sympathies for your loss. And that's been an ongoing issue that many journalists like Leo Perales and other friends of ours have been covering this issue right around who's being officially counted as someone that was that passed away due to the hurricane. And we know the numbers have been wildly underreported. There's as many as 1,000 people that have passed away on the island since the hurricane hit, and we know a large amount of them are directly on some level due to that. So again, our sympathies for your loss. So in terms of getting, let's take a half a step back. So you wanted to tell us about the experience getting ready to leave for the island. You started a GoFundMe page. You had people literally dropping stuff off of your business.
Oh my God,
share that experience with us, and what that taught you about sort of humanity and the power of what this experience has brought so many of us together.
Oh my God, it has been just amazing. I have to tell you, first and foremost, I want to say this. You know, no matter what race, creed, belief, religion, it doesn't matter. There has been people from all over that has come to my salon and has contributed somehow. When I tell you my salon looked like a warehouse, the news came, and they couldn't even fit through the door. It was. I mean, and if you look on my Instagram page, you will see all the way on the bottom. You know, you have to go down because we've posted so much. But and my Instagram page is at Wanda Mora, just so you know. But it was just the outpouring of you know, and the whole goal from the very beginning was just let's try. This was what we thought. Let's try and fill a 45-foot container and see what happens. Well, now we're on container number 4. Because that's how much we have gotten. And we are now up to $60,000 raised on our GoFundMe page.
Unbelievable. Incredible. And it's funny, Wanda, because I thought initially when I started seeing the pictures of all you had gotten donated on your social media, I thought you had a warehouse. And now you're telling me that was all in your beauty salon? I don't know how you fit everything.
No.
That's incredible.
Was all
That's
in
incredible.
My beauty salon. And then the shipping company that we sent everything out of, they donated like the yard for us to come and work. And then we had lots of volunteers come out. We had, you know, they came out to help us sort out things to put in the container. I mean, it's been amazing. You know, and it continues. Let me just tell you, it continues. Even today, if you go to my salon right now, the whole left side of my salon is packed with stuff that I have to somehow find room to take it with me.
So you mentioned a moment ago that going to the island just takes this experience to a whole other level. So walk us through that experience. I know you went with a delegation, including a good friend, Eric, and Kimberly Lamberti and a few others. So just share with us, Wanda, just please, you know, when you get there, I mean, you were there a few weeks ago, I mean, give people a sense of what it's like. I mean, I can't even imagine what it's like, even though I know the island. I have family there. They give me reports.
Can I tell you that
unless you're there, you don't know.
Yeah, exactly. No matter how you try to depict it, it's just not enough. It's a whole other level. You know, when I first got there, I go to my bag, you know, to pick up my bag. And all you see coming down the belt is generators. generator after generator after generator after generator. And it's because they allowed it, on the planes and stuff because of the crisis. And then all that you see are the Latino Puerto Rican population leaving the island, and the people that are coming in the island are officials like, the Army and, all that kind of stuff. So it was a very, very out-of-body experience, like, where am I? Because I'm not an official. I'm a hairdresser. I own a hair salon. I'm just like anybody else. So I, for me, it was like, what am I doing here? And, but whatever it was, it just kept me going and going. So, because of the systems, I couldn't get my rental car. I had to pay a taxi cab to take me all the way to Mayagüez from San Juan. That's a 2.5-hour drive. And it took us 4 hours because of the traffic. But it was just so crazy. As soon as I get into the taxi cab and he starts driving and I look at all the trees. Well, first when I landed and you see on the plane, you see all the debris and everything. But then when you land and you're driving through and you're seeing all of the trees on the ground and you're seeing things still flooded, streets still with a ton of mud and landslides and things, and you're like, I can't believe I was just there 3 months prior vacationing, and I thought to myself, I can't believe this is the same place. I really can't believe. And the mountains are all brown from being burnt, and the trees are all gone. The palm trees are bent over. They're not, standing tall, and it was just so many houses with no roof, a lot of trash like mattresses and refrigerators and things outside in front of their homes because everything ruined inside. That's the visual that you get when you get there.
It's incredible because how much of, before we even get to the people and our family and our community that's impacted, that's been such a reaction that I've gotten from people that have actually been there, is that the impact on the nature and the land of the island, and for people that haven't been in Puerto Rico, and obviously all Caribbean and Latin American tropical places like that are going to be beautiful, but the diversity of everything packed in that little island, from a rainforest to mountains to beaches to foliage to just the farms, and to see all of that, and to see all of that be impacted, even before you get to the human impact, is emotional just thinking about it. You listen to Wanda Mora on Ray's talk show. Before we get into the feedback and the reaction you got from people that you were serving on the island, very valuable relief. Let people know, Wanda, again about your GoFundMe page and your social media, so people can follow you on social media.
Yes, my GoFundMe page. You can look up Puerto Rico Strong, and then you'll see my name, Wanda Mora, on the page. That is our page because there were so many Puerto Rico Strongs. And my Instagram page is at Wanda Mora, and our Facebook page is Puerto Rico Strong, also by Wanda Mora.
Absolutely. And Wanda not only is going to be part of the Unity March for Puerto Rico coming up this Sunday, November 19th, but she's also having an event, a fundraiser in February. Wanda, tell us a little bit about that event that you have planned in a few months.
Okay, so November 19th, yes, is the Unity March for Puerto Rico. And February the 8th, we are doing something, since it's Valentine's Day or close to Valentine's Day. We're going to do a charity ball. Puerto Rico absolutely deserves something done, like at a really nice scale. It's going to be semi-formal at the Union Trust in Philadelphia. It's going to be called For the Love of Puerto Rico, and it will be $125 a ticket, but you are getting a lot. You're getting great food. You're getting top-shelf premium liquor all night. and hors d'oeuvres and sweets and all kinds of stuff. It's going to be an amazing, amazing event that we're putting together.
Excellent. As we get closer to it, we'll definitely be promoting it, and hopefully, Wanda, I can convince my wife to a night on the town. That would be a nice event for all of us to spend time together. But getting back to your trip, Wanda, so you have this initial reaction. Tell us about our people there, the people that you interacted with. I saw a lot of it. I was following actually a lot of your trip through our friend Kimberly Lamberti's social media, and it was I saw just the range of emotions she was going through, and I know you were there with her. So just tell people a little bit about when you started reaching people with relief and aid, and you were able to connect with our folks that were in most need of help.
It's interesting. Although most people, well, some people were very emotional, most people still have a smile on their face. It's unbelievable how resilient our people are. It amazed me. I don't know how I would be able to handle what they're going through. I would probably be balled up in a corner somewhere because we're so spoiled over here, Over there, the people were just happy to be alive and have a place to sleep no matter where it was. And, they are so resourceful. They, cook for each other, in the neighborhoods and things like that. But, I did run into some people that, there's only but so much you can take. Everybody has a threshold, obviously, and people are starting to get tired, It's 55 days in, and my niece, who lives in Mayagüez, finally got her electricity yesterday. After 55 days. I mean, think about that. 55 days with no electricity. Just think about that. It's crazy. And the people over there are just trying to make the best of it. And my niece got lucky. Most people still don't have electricity over there. It's insane.
Yes, she is lucky.
We ran into so many different situations. Obviously some people are more affected than others. But if you see on my Instagram page, you're going to run into a guy named Miguel, who was so happy. He worked for the municipality, and he was so happy that the Red Cross came and gave him a box. When I looked in the box, it was a pack of pudding, a pack of cookies, a fruit cup, and a fruit snack. And he was so happy that somebody came there and gave a damn about. And I'm thinking in my head, American Red Cross receives gazillions of dollars. Why are they just getting a pack of pudding? And I don't want to hear the excuse of, it's too many people. To me, it's BS because we're small. We don't need $60,000 sounds like a lot of money, but it's really not to feed so many people. Okay, we were giving out groceries for a whole week. A pack of rice, a pack of sugar, a pack of coffee, a pack of crackers, a pack of diapers, whatever people needed. So I didn't understand why, but guess what? He was so happy that he got that. So, our people are appreciative and resilient and resourceful. That's how I can.
Yeah, and in the middle of this tragedy, to not only the people but to the physical island, and the resilience, I think we have to really hold our heads high because, first of all, how our community on the island has responded with, like you said, gratefulness, with patience, with love, with grace. I mean, are there incidents here and there of looting? But, the island has been nearly as chaotic, I think, as many would have predicted at this point, considering how
at all.
They're dealing with those issues. And then on the flip side, with our community here, Wanda, you're a great example, but just one of thousands of Puerto Ricans and others, like yourself, that, you know, weren't elected officials, weren't people that run organizations, but just took it upon themselves to make a difference. And I'm blessed as someone that just has a lot of friends around the country on Facebook, that I see the Wandas of North Jersey, the Wandas of Boston, the Wandas of Chicago, the Wandas of Kissimmee, Florida, Phoenix, Arizona. There's a group of people that are part of the Unity March that are from the West Coast. So, I mean, I had Mexican-American friends calling me from the West Coast saying, hey, you know, we're going to have a Taco Tuesday. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We just want to be helpful. So there's a lot of people, like you said, that have shown the best of who we are, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think it's because we have figured out that we have to do something quick and we have to do it ourselves. That was my mentality. You know, we have to do it fast and we have to do it ourselves. The red tape, the 501c3, all this crap that takes months and months to get things done, I wasn't waiting. And anybody that donated to my page, I was very clear. I said, I'm not a nonprofit. I am just someone a Puerto Rican that wants to go and help our people. That's it.
That's right.
If you trust the process, if you trust me, donate. If not, that's okay. I understand. But we need it, and we need it now. You know, that was the bottom line.
And as someone that does this organizing professionally, or has done it professionally, Wanda, I must say I have to compliment you, because first of all, you were very authentic, and in the way you projected yourself through social media, all of that came through. That you were authentic, you were, you know, being very clear, you were just a concerned citizen, but I think your authenticity instilled a lot of confidence. And Wanda, you're good at this. Let me tell you. I mean, the new stuff. I mean, you were on Fox, the local television station. I mean, somebody would have thought you were a congressperson, because you seem very comfortable leading. And I guess as a businesswoman, you've learned a lot of those lessons. So you know, I just wanted to share with you that all of that came through the way you were projecting your efforts. So, and again, you're listening to Wanda Mora here on Ray's Talk Show. So this weekend is another turning point, or another moment in this journey. A lot of people, mostly Puerto Rican women, like the organizer of the Unity March for Puerto Rico, which you can find at unitymarchforpuertorico.com, Evelyn Mahil, who's working with people like Kim Lamberti and other friends of ours in the region and around the country, have organized the Unity March for Puerto Rico, which is this Sunday, November 19th. I'm happy to say, Wanda, I'm going to be there, and I'm actually I'm in the process of securing my day job's organization to be one of the official supporter, official sponsor. Hopefully, I believe there'll be a financial contribution to the march as part of that, so I'm really excited about that. So tell us why you think it's important for us to come together. We're doing all these local efforts, which is great, but this is an opportunity for many of us around the country to come together as one voice.
I think it's important for several reasons. Number one, our people in Puerto Rico, I would love to see them get a little stronger, in the sense that, you know, they're grateful, they're humble, and all those things, but I don't think they realize how big of a contribution Puerto Rico is to the United States of America. You know, $60 million a year we contribute every fiscal year to the United States. We have our pharmaceuticals over there. I think the number was like really outrageous. Like 85% of all pharmaceuticals come from Puerto Rico. I'm not sure of that number, so please don't quote me on that. But if you do the research, it's
Puerto Rico is a lot more than it ever has gotten back. I mean, that's the bottom line.
Yes. And the thing is that we need to let our Puerto Rican people know that they do not need to feel like a burden to the United States of Puerto Rico. We contribute a lot. We don't need to feel like a burden, like we're begging and we're all this stuff. That's not the way that it is. We have a voice, we have an opinion, and we should be heard. And I don't know if you knew. I'm sure you know, but Carmen Yulín is going to be the keynote speaker, and it'll be interesting to hear what she has to say. Yeah. But I think the main thing is that we have to stop feeling like we're a burden to the United States of America. because we contribute a lot. Our army, our, what you just said, about the how do you say that, the service, the army.
Yeah, our veterans. Yeah, we participate more in the military than anybody. The Boricaneers. I mean, there's so much history that we've talked about on the show. I mean, we've sacrificed a lot for this country.
Yeah, so that's the main thing for me is, having a voice, let it be heard, and understanding the role that we play here as well. And that treatment that we have gotten is absolutely disgusting. By the way, my father was a vet.
Wow. Well, again, another reason to thank you and your family for your father and your family for your service.
Mm-hmm.
It's a couple things, and I think it's really important. And I think, especially for people in your position, Wanda, and again, I'm so happy that this experience in the middle of this tragedy has allowed people like you to show leadership and give them this platform, because we need the Wandas of the world to have a lot more visibility and have a lot more leadership roles in this country, and for not only for the United States but for Puerto Rico. But that, this is an opportunity, and I, in my small way, want to contribute to this, is kind of provide people like you and people that are going to be there Sunday that may be newer to this process of sort of political organizing, just the tools to be able to mobilize. And so we understand the importance of, reaching out to our local federal officials. What's going to be a political strategy? I mean, even if we just got the Jones Act repealed, if that was like the one thing we could do, we've talked about that Jones Act on the show. There's definitely wins. There's definitely wins. And when people ask me about, well, we need to worry about the status, we need to worry about this, I said, well, before we even get to those issues, which are going to be divisive and controversial and, on some level is not completely in our hands, that continue to act the way we are, unified, politically aware, and just continue to organize. On some level, there's got to be a major, and I know, Wanda, you've already started thinking about this, there's a major financial responsibility for Puerto Rico to live here to invest in the island. We can't let, these big real estate tycoons, drag the viejitos on the island to sell their land for pennies. When our community has the financial resources, look at the hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars that we've raised, just like you have, through our local grassroots efforts. So we have financial power, we have political power, and most importantly, we have the power of our talents, and working together. When I was thinking about that, I'm sure you saw it on the big concert that J-Lo and those celebrities put together. And that's, obviously, they're going to get a lot of attention, but I sat there, it's like, only, I think, outside of African Americans and like Americans in general, I don't think there's another group in the world that could have put this show together. Because you think about J-Lo, Bruno Mars, Mark Anthony, all these celebrities who happen to be a lot of Puerto Ricans.
You're not kidding.
These are the world's biggest, and that's what I try to tell people. I said, for people that, in the hood, and people like we grew up with that have that mentality, like, don't have that self-confidence in our community. I said, look, our community impacts the world, not just our neighbors, not just the island.
It really does.
It's like this. It's like the island's too small for us sometimes, and that's why we left sometimes, because we have so much to share, and not just in the arts, but just Mayor to Wanda Mora. So Wanda, I'm so excited to be a part of this on Sunday, and we all, particularly the people from the Philly area, the Kimberly, the Erics, our friends from Unidos para Puerto Rico, Madeline, Joanna, and all of our other friends that are currently on the island or have spent time on the island, like you have, and Betsy, and so many others. So I just think I just wanted to get you to understand that we have to keep the pressure on these elected officials, continue to provide relief, because if we rely on the government, it's not going to happen. And just keep that pressure going and build on this moment to move forward. Wanted to let people know again about where they can find you on social media, and your fundraising efforts, and anything else you'd like to share on Ray's Talk Show.
Okay, well, once again, my Facebook page is Puerto Rico Strong by Wanda Mora. You can also check my Instagram. It's at Wanda Mora. You'll see a lot of posts there from our visit and things. We are sending toys right now. We're currently holding a toy drive, but that's over in the next couple of days. And that would be it. Oh, LatinoSenMarcha.com is the website to sign up for the march on Sunday. So join us for the march. Let your voice be heard. It's latinosinmychat.com. And you can get your sign up there, register, and the buses from Philadelphia are free. The ones from New Jersey, I believe, are not. So, when you sign up, you'll see everything, all the information on the website.
And if you're not from the Philadelphia area, you can go to unitymarchforpuertorico.com for transportation information from other communities. And I do know Zoraida Andino Rodriguez sent me a note. She's one of our great leaders, Puerto Rican women leaders for a long time, from the Orlando area. And she shared with me that there's actually going to be an event for people in Florida that can't go to D.C. this weekend. They're going to have a big event on Monday in Orlando. So if you're in the Central Florida region, from Tampa to Daytona and Kissimmee and all Poinciana and all those places, we got a whole lot of Puerto Ricans and a lot more Puerto Ricans moving to. And you want to be a part of this movement, check out Misión Boricua on Facebook and check out Zoraida Andino's social media following. Wanda, I really appreciate you. You've been locally, you've been such an inspiration. As Kimberly shared on Latino Motion's TV show, she was compelled to reach out to you from your efforts. You've made us look good. Let me tell you, I mean, you're great on television. You've done a great job on social media sharing a positive message of a Latina that, first of all, was a daughter just trying to take care of her daddy in these moments, and a patriot for our island. Again, Wanda, thank you so much for your service, and I look forward to catching up with you on Sunday.
All right. I'll talk to you soon, Ray.
Welcome back to Ray's Talk Show here on the line. It's been a couple weeks. I always miss talking to my man, so I had to bring him back on the show to talk about the hottest political headlines impacting our community. Our main man from the Perales Report, Leo Perales. Leo, welcome back, brother.
Hey, I appreciate it. Good to be back.
Yeah, no, there is so much to talk about, including there's actually news from Washington State. Who would have thunk? Political headlines impacting people coast to coast up in the Apple State. So, Leo, remind people where they can find your podcast, The Perales Report.
You can find me on Facebook, SoundCloud, and on YouTube. Just go ahead and type in the search bar, The Perales Report. I come right up. I'm the only nationally recognized Perales, I think, so it's not very hard to find me.
Well, I'm trying to think. I would have to say that Cesar Perales,
yes,
who is the former Secretary of State of New York and a legendary legal civil rights leader out of New York, but one of the founders and former executive directors of what's now Latino Justice, formerly the Puerto Rican Legal Defense Fund, and his daughter, and her name's escaping me at the moment, but the younger Perales, who's a fantastic civil rights lawyer in San Antonio, Texas, who's one of the MALDEF leading senior staffers, who leads the litigation around voting rights and other things in Texas. So you're in good company, brother. No doubt about it. But definitely got to give love to the other Peraleses doing good things out in the country. And again, you can listen to Ray's Talk Show anywhere you can download a podcast, iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, SoundCloud, anywhere you can find us. And also check us out on social media at Ray's Podcast on Twitter, Instagram, and anywhere you can find us on social media. Lots to talk about in this episode. You heard earlier the interview with our activists getting ready for the Unity March for Puerto Rico, which is happening this weekend in Washington, D.C., which I'll be attending, Leo, and hope to get some interviews and definitely check me out on social media over the weekend. But in the rest of the episode, we're going to be talking to Leo about the political ramifications of the elections over the last week, the ongoing, the upcoming election in Alabama, and what that means for our community. And I have a couple of thoughts on that. That the ongoing tax and budget battle happening in Washington, which has large ramifications. I've got some inside scoop for folks, which I want to share. I was on Capitol Hill this week fighting the good fight. So I want to give people a sense of what's happening in Washington from our perspective. And of course, what's increasingly becoming the favorite segment of the show, Hey Ray, which Leo will lead for us. Leo, I know the politics with elections, which some of which included in your home state, have really sort of changed the landscape here leading up to 2018.
Yeah, definitely. I want to say it was a toss-up over here in the 45th district, because believe it or not, Tuesday was a big blue tidal wave. It went from the East Coast over here to the West Coast. I know a lot of people like to forget about us, but yeah, over here in the 45th district, Manca Dingra, actually an Indian American won that one. It got flipped from Republican to Democrat, and we finally we haven't controlled. Excuse me, Democrats haven't controlled all branches of government here in Washington since for about 5 years, and if they finally have the Senate, we've had a lot of issues in regards to obstruction from both parties really in the last couple of years because the Senate being controlled by the Republicans and then the House being controlled by the Democrats. And so the way I look at it really is with great power comes great responsibility. I hate to steal that line from the Spider-Man movie, but we have just seen these two groups. These two parties unable to get anything done, and hopefully the Democrats start rebranding themselves here in Washington because they do good over there on the coast, but they don't do good over here in Eastern Washington in the rural areas. And so that's I think that can kind of be parallel with the National Democratic Party as well. And really, I think this is just. Last Tuesday was a referendum on Donald Trump. I'll go ahead and let you talk more on that, but I'm sure that there on the East Coast, you kind of saw that with the election results.
No, and it's important when you're talking about the special election that took place in Washington State that tipped the Senate to the Democratic column in your state legislature, because state legislatures are, and governor's races, I would argue, are as important, if not more important, to some degree. Mm-hmm. With the federal elections coming up, they're incredibly important. So this was really a temperature check for, I think, not only, sort of where people are at with Donald Trump. And we heard these stories in Virginia about, sort of these, these armies of women standing in the rain, in the DC suburbs in Northern Virginia to have their voice heard and their vote reflected in their disillusionment and this disgust with the administration. Of course, those suburban who are being referred to in these articles, mostly white women, would not have an ability to tip the scales of one for people of color, and particularly black females, who overwhelmingly vote for Democrats in these swing elections. But definitely a lot of energy on our side, and I think we also saw that reflected in not only the energy in how many Democrats picking up, in the case of Virginia, delegate seats in their version of the House of Representatives, but seeing diverse candidates like the two Latinas who became the first two Latinas who are in the Virginia delegation. Hala Ayala, what a great name, Hala Ayala. Sounds like a Nickelodeon character. And Elizabeth Guzman. So much respect to our Latinas in Virginia, a growing part of our leadership out there that we have to continue to support. I was actually with the only Latino in the Virginia House of Representatives delegates, Alonzo Lopez, recently, and I'll actually post a Twitter video of that, him speaking about some of our issues I worry about. But yeah, when you look at New Jersey and Virginia and these other elections around the country, local elections, it's clear that there's a lot of energy amongst progressives and just people that are just tired of this administration, the tone, the rhetoric, the divisiveness, some would argue the open hostility to people of color and other segments of our society. But I think the big news not only is that energy and that momentum, but the fact that people are building up from the grassroots with so many people running for office, diverse candidates, more women. Of course, we saw the stories of transgendered candidates winning in conservative areas. The gentleman who's social democrat, whose fiance got killed in that shooting, who won that seat in Southern Virginia. So lots of examples of energy that's moving in the right direction. But the question remains, how much of it can we sustain over the next year, and how much of it can be crafted into a coherent message of change that's practical, that's achievable, beyond just that, the president's a jerk.
That's exactly my take on last week's race and elections, is that, with this energy being translated into votes next year in a partisan year, when you're voting in senators and House of Representatives, even here in our state as well, you're going to have state house races. And so that's the thing. I feel very good seeing what I saw last Tuesday because people of color came out to vote. Married women came out to vote. White women, so like you mentioned, came out to vote. African Americans, Latinos came out in droves last Tuesday. And really, they were voting in presidential numbers. A lot of the exit polls reflected that data. But I really look at this as a backlash to the Trump presidency because, again, this has really been in under he hasn't he has not accomplished anything in the last year, and that really shows us. So that's why they're trying to ram this tax bill through the House or the Senate right now, just trying to get something done so they have something to run come next year. But I was go ahead. I was just happy to see a lot of people of color running and actually winning. Like you mentioned, the women in Virginia, which that was one of my biggest takeaways is that the future is female. I hate to use that cliche phrase that's going on right now, but it's true. I mean, 11 of the 15 districts over there in Virginia that were flipped, they were won by women. So I think Republicans and Democrats need to take women's and their issues and put front and center during this time because I think it's going to come back to bite them come a year from now.
No, and to your point, I want to give a shout out. There's a great group of women, Latinas, not only who ran for office, and thinking about our friends in New Jersey for a second, which had a big victory for the governor, the Democratic gubernatorial candidate Phil Murphy, good guy, basically bought the election, but that's another. But he's a good, nevertheless, a good guy. Jersey politics, brother. It's bring out your checkbook, but there was a great group of women, starting with the leader of the Latino outreach for his campaign, Alixon Collazos, no relation, Collazos, with an S, Alixon, Cristina Pinzon, Lisette Delgado. Lisette Delgado Polanco is in line to potentially be the chair of the Democratic Party in the state from this election. She comes from labor. She's the political director for the Carpenters. I believe she's the vice chair of the Democratic Party already. There's a big push to get a Latina attorney general candidate in this administration. There's a Latino health insurance executive who's the Jose Solano, who's the chair of the transition team. So, as we look at diversity in politics, we also have to look at and hold our elected officials and our executives, like our governors and our mayors, accountable to building administrations, not only just policy agendas, but administrations that reflect the diversity of their communities. And as we know, when you're talking about Latinas, you're talking about women across the board. There's so much talent and so much servant leadership amongst the women in our society that, we need to empower them in every way possible, including as campaign professionals, that are properly supported. And I will say it was disappointing that with the Democrat that won the Virginia governor's race, he had some great Latinas, including Melody Gonzalez, who's a great friend to the show, and other leaders that were involved in this campaign. But those women and those Latinos in Virginia didn't get the kind of budgets and support they should have gotten. But despite that, we had a strong turnout. So much respect to our folks that are in the game and need to be more supported. And again, you're listening to Ray's Talk Show with my main man here, Leo Perales, talking politics and whatever's on our mind here. Speaking of elections, there's believe it or not, another special election coming up. And Leo, I know watching the disaster, the drama, the novella in Alabama, I know it's like one of those things where you're sort of driving past a car accident on the highway. All you want to do is look, but you feel real guilty, being as focused on it because it's part scary, part disgusting, part disheartening, part dangerous.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't really trying to. I like to focus on things that I feel like I should know, but this is one thing that I kind of put off to the side. But after the first couple women came out and accused this gentleman of sexually assaulting them, I started to take notice, and I've been doing really a big deep dive on this issue. And really, this may be a blessing in disguise for the Democrats come next year because you have two factions within the Republican Party, and you can argue that there's 2 or 3 different factions in the Democratic Party, but they are going at each other's throats right now in Alabama. A lot of people do not want this gentleman, Roy Moore, to win. And it looks like he's well on his way. He has a lot of support there, right? I mean, he's running as a Trumpist. And we have yet to see anyone win running on that type of dialogue and not be Trump. And I guess you can kind of say that's why Gillespie lost over there in Virginia. But yeah, it's just kind of odd. But I think with this whole Me Too movement, and the Harvey Weinstein type of, I guess demeanor from a lot of these men across the nation that are starting to come out, right? The Kevin Spaceys are getting in trouble. I don't know how this guy can survive this. And really, I mean, when you have conservative commentators like George Will saying that this guy deserves to lose, the National Review saying that he needs to step aside, that really says something, that there's some things that you just can't get away with. And I think sexual assault is one of them. And I'm glad to see conservative commentators speak up and speak out against it. But I think it needs to happen on both sides. So yeah, it's just very odd, but I'm just kind of waiting for the next big break in this investigation and story. But like you said, December 12th is coming right around the corner. One thing that I have heard is that the White House may want to send Jeff Sessions back to that spot because he's just not doing his job, I guess, according to the president. And so that very well could happen, but that would have to be in a write-in type of campaign. And maybe at this time, you're going against the will of the people because the people have spoken and they wanted more and more to be their candidate for this race. So
yeah, well, I mean, I think it's incumbent on all of us, regardless of our ideology, people of decency, to call on this man to step aside, and at the same time do everything we can to support Doug Jones. This is a Democrat who's a very strong candidate. He's one of the few Democrats in recent Alabama history that's won for statewide office previously, and is running a strong, moderate, election. It was going to be relatively close anyway because we have a pretty strong Democratic candidate there, and Roy Moore is a nuts who has a fanatical, so very similar to Trump, sort of a fanatical but not necessarily wide-reaching base of support. And so I don't when you say sure.
Can I ask you a question? Okay, you've been involved in politics for a very long time, and this is something I've kind of brought up on my show. Do we not? Is there no more vetting of a candidate anymore? Is there somebody that comes on and says, "Tell me all your dark skeletons that may come up, so we don't waste our money"?
Well, that's a really good question. I mean, it's Alabama. We couldn't have vetted our current president any further than we did, and unfortunately, enough voters supported him. So, this is not only a statement of sort of the lack of efficacy of the Republican and sort of the political community in Alabama. Apparently, everyone knows this guy was interested in younger girls and young women, very, too young, that were too young for him. This apparently wasn't a secret. I mean, the guy got banned from a mall. So it really is about the ethics and leadership of the political establishment in Alabama. And so, and again, we don't have a lot of moral high ground as a nation when we elect someone like Donald Trump. And so this speaking to bigger issues related to, the increased division in our country, to the point where this is still even a question that this man can stay and fight. Richard Nixon had the decency, as much as he was a rascal, had the decency to step down when he was in the process of being impeached for the good of the country. And so we just have across the board too many examples, I believe, overwhelmingly in the Republican leadership of this country, or the changing nature of the Republican leadership. We have people of decent character and who are conservatives, but people like Senator Flake, Senator Corker, one of my local Congress people, Obiondo, who are, even if regardless of their party, are people of some character who don't feel like it's their party anymore. And so there's a real lack of moral and ethical leadership in the Republican Party, particularly in these hard red, far right wing states, where someone that already has twice been disbarred or disrobed as a judge because he went against federal law blatantly, someone that has built his political career as paradoxically as a righteous Christian who also is hateful of other people, particularly in the LGBT community. And so, there's a lot wrong here. and sort of the lack of vetting of a state party, which didn't necessarily want him to win in the primary anyway, is almost kind of the least of it. I would just say this in closing with Roy Moore, is that when we hear, it's so disgusting to me that we have these conversations about, and this acknowledgement, this respect that's given to the evangelical movement, or even the Republican Party, when this man was allowed to have a very successful political and legal career in Alabama, despite the fact he was essentially a known pedophile. And so, Leo, where I come from in North Philadelphia, and I suspect a community like yours, a community that hasn't elected too many U.S. senators, or has people who are able, provided opportunities like Ron Moore, despite his his consistent failures, personally and professionally. Where I come from, if someone is molesting, a 30-year-old man is molesting a 14-year-old girl, a 16-year-old girl, multiple times being banned from a mall, they ain't getting to the fourth. He ain't going to get to the fourth or fifth young woman to terrorize, because we're going to take care of it. And so, while that may seem off-putting to some people, I would ask people, who are the people that are protecting the innocent here? And in the case of Alabama, these are supposedly, conservative Christians, when they're just letting, this man of power terrorize women, young women, literally girls, and from their own community.
Yeah, no, I read the report. I mean, you had the lady, the lady come out yesterday. I believe her Beverly's. I'm blanking on the last name, but yeah, I mean that she, that he that he targeted her when she was 16. She was a waitress, and that, like you said, the Washington Post talked to some police officers in his hometown, and they even confirmed that he had to be removed from the mall. But like I was kind of asked you, I don't get how this stuff doesn't get found out, and how this guy was able to just be put in that spot to run for this, to become a senator. And
well, the issue that, but Leo, there's the bottom line. It wasn't about it being found out. I mean, it's obviously on some level. I mean, he was banned from a mall. This was on some level over the years, common knowledge. The issue is that a man of his stature in that state, there isn't enough ethical and moral leadership in the political community there to do anything about it. So, and again, it's not just Alabama. Look what happened last year. I mean, for us to elect in this modern time, with all the information that we have about candidates, for our country to elect Donald Trump is a tremendous failure, not just political failure, but an ethical fail as a society. It's not like he was, even if you're a hardcore conservative Republican, he wasn't the only candidate. You had 17 of them to choose from. So, there's bigger issues in play even beyond politics that we need to hold ourselves accountable for and acknowledge that, this kind of behavior Leo Perales would be in prison for. Ray Collazo would be in prison for. Your neighbors and friends would likely be in prison for, or get their asses whooped at some point in their life, real good, so they wouldn't do it again. So this man was allowed to be a judge twice and a potential U.S. senator.
It's just a sad state of affairs. And I guess I'm asking you these questions because I'm trying to wrap my head around as where we're at in a society. Like you said, I think this is a fail on our overall society, because we did elect another predator in Donald Trump, and now there's another chance of that happening over there in Alabama. I really hope, and it really, I mean, you had people like George Will say, vote for Mr. Doug. So it's just, I'm a loss for words at this point. I knew I was going to be a loss for words.
Well, we got to organize. We got to do everything we can. Everyone's got somebody. I've got shout out to our great friend Felix Montelada, a Latino Alabama resident voter, who's also a great podcaster. So everyone, I don't care if you're Latino or what background you have, you got a cousin, somebody lives. So you have some connection to someone lives in Alabama. Let them know this is the right thing to do. This is a critical election. 1 Senate vote is critical, and also it sends a moral message. Doug Jones is a good man. He's someone that's willing to work across the aisle. He's not going to radically change our political direction. But it shows that, we've got some common sense here as a society. So we can all do more. And go Dougie. Down in Alabama, you listen to Ray's Talk Show with your host, Ray Collazo. And my co-host for today, one of my regular contributors, Leo Perales. You can check out Ray's Talk Show again anywhere you can download a podcast. My co-workers at Unidos US were asking me the other day, said, where can I hear your podcast, man? I'm like, you can hear it anywhere. Download it anywhere. iHeartRadio. Tune in anywhere you're checking out a podcast. You can check out Ray's Talk Show, and the same is for the Perales Report, as well as on YouTube. You can hear our audio on YouTube as well. Leo, in the midst of the political drama, the Washington, D.C. legislative process continues, and this tax and budget legislation that's being proposed and moving through Congress right now is as dangerous as anything that we've seen in this administration.
Yeah, no, definitely, and it's really starting to hit home. We have a congressman here, Dan Newhouse, who has been taking the lead on it over in our area. So it's definitely starting to hurt people, such as teachers. Like my sister's a teacher, and she does spend money to buy her classroom stuff, and that's one of the deductions that's being threatened to be taken away. And there's other certain local and state ones. So I don't get how the Republicans think that this is going to be just some great legislation that they're that congressmen and senators can run on next year. I don't know how it is your community's taking this tax bill, but as of right now, I honestly don't think it's going to pass. I think it's going to be done in arrival. They don't have the votes, and a lot of people, even though they have the majorities in both chambers, they still don't have the votes.
Well,
the way I look at it.
Your lips to God's ears. So let's see what's happening. So people are aware of what's currently happening. So the House of Representatives, as early as Wednesday of this week, may vote on the tax proposal that they unveiled last week. These proposals would cut, the House plan alone would cut potentially $2.5 trillion in tax cuts, the overwhelming amount of which would go to the top, not just top 1%, the top 0.2% wealthiest Americans. I'm looking at some numbers here that under the current House plan, the poorest 20% of our society would receive on average $160 back in their taxes, whereas the wealthiest 1% would get $46,000 in their tax returns. That's more than the median income in our society. And so, these plans, and the Senate is released a similar version this week. These plans, according to our friends, I just got a shareable graphic here from the Center for American Progress, would increase taxes for upwards of 36 million Americans by 2027. And so, this is a shell game. Their plan is to cut taxes across the board and sell it to people, trickle down economics. Hey, you're going to get a tax break. Oh, wow, that's $80 in my pocket, $90 in my pocket. And then next year they'll turn around and they'll say, then they'll care about the deficit again, which they don't seem to care about anymore, miraculously. These budget hawks, and they'll say, well, the deficit's out of control. We need to cut spending, and they won't cut spending from the 50% of the budget that deals with our military. They won't cut spending on changing the tax code to tax the rich at an appropriate level. They will continue to cut the services like SNAP, like nutrition programs, like housing subsidies, like infrastructure spending, the kind of resources that not only benefit working people, but truly benefit our society as a whole. So this is a big shell game. They'll just lie, Leo, like they're doing. They're just lying to our faces that this is going to help working people. We see the numbers. How do you take away the student loan deduction and tell people that's going to help working people? How do you take away the child tax credit for immigrant taxpayers? How do you take away the state and local tax deduction from our friends in California or New York, which are huge Latino states, by the way, of tens of millions of Latinos live in those two states alone? How do you take away those deductions and those benefits and say this is a plan to help working people? So it's clear what's happening. I'm not quite as optimistic as you are. I expect the House to pass their version of the bill this week, and then it will be ultimately up to the Senate, where we only need 3 people to vote, senators to vote against it, including a few that aren't too potentially happy with this administration, like Senators Corker and Flake. to prevent an incredible transfer of wealth away from working people to the wealthiest Americans that certainly don't need it.
Yeah, I just don't. And again, I think it's just kind of, again, I'm not like really in tune with a lot of, local, over there on the East Coast. So like all the local congressmen and women, but over here, our congressman in the 4th Congressional District, he doesn't play along to go along. He really has been kind of on the outside looking in, and he is on the outside looking in regards to this tax bill. To him, he's not going to vote for it from what it sounds like right now, unless certain stipulations are made, kind of like what I was saying in regards to teachers.
Well, they've got I forget the exact number, but they've got there's about 27 members or so, because of the big majority they have in the House that don't have to vote for it. So, one of my local congresspeople, Frank Lobiondo, one of the moderate Republicans that's going to be leaving Congress or retiring next year, has also come out against the bill. So there's about 25 of them or so that they can kind of give a pass to, on this. And so, we need to keep the pressure up on the members that potentially could be part of a coalition to defeat this, even in the House. People like, for our friends that are listening to this in South Florida, the 3 Cuban American Republican members are critical in this conversation. For our friends in Central California, Congressman Valadao, Denham, Congressman Issa in suburban Los Angeles. For our friends out in Midland, Texas, and that part of West Texas, Congressman Hurd. So there's there is a network. There are a group of Congress people that we do need to put the pressure on. And we do have an opportunity to convince that this is not only bad for the country, but it's bad for their politics. So it's very important that we have our voice heard. They want to get this all done the plan is they have the House bill passed before Thanksgiving and have the Senate bill voted on before Christmas. So it's really important that before, as we're getting ready, as we're stuffing our turkeys and getting ready for the holiday season, that we have our voice heard right now. Because the bottom line is, it's real simple talking point. How can you tell us that these tax cuts would benefit working Americans when every estimate is stating that tens of millions of people, upwards of 36 million, according to the Center for American Progress, working families would actually have their taxes increased? And that didn't even speak to the latest numbers that came out today with their plans to the Senate bill, including the repeal of the ACA mandate, which also throws our healthcare system into chaos. So these are the true bad hombres of our society, and we're going to do everything we can to push back against this.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you have Unidos US down there, doing all the heavy lifting, and definitely I know I have my friends and family calling Congressman Dan Newhouse to tell him to do not vote for this, and he was trying to make a good sell today in the paper. Or was it yesterday, saying that it's time to simplify the tax code. But now that we have a very strong, state government, a strong governor, he's fighting against it, and he's definitely making his voice heard too. So like you mentioned earlier, at least we have some of these individuals out there in these elected positions to fight for the working men and women of the state. Yeah,
no, there will be a press conference on Wednesday morning with the leadership of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus. And people like Representative Tony Cardenas from Southern California, Congresswoman Nanette Barragan, who represents Compton, amongst other communities in Southern California. And Nanette's a good friend and a rising young Latina leader who's already in U.S. Congress. And my day job's President CEO Janet Murguia. They're going to be speaking about the impact on the Latino community on these provisions, whether it's Latina school teachers, like your sister, like it's just working people that live in certain states that would really get impacted severely by the potential changes in the tax code and the budget cuts, which would impact all of us, just really. So I was on Capitol Hill earlier this week briefing the staff people who work for these members of Congress, and they're gonna have their voice heard. So really interesting to see. Keep an eye on what our Latino members of Congress, how they message and how they raise their voice in this conversation over the next few days. And you're listening to Ray's Talk Show with your host Ray Collazo, talking politics and whatever's on our mind here and what we can do about it. Just as importantly, more importantly, how you can take your opinions and your feelings and your beliefs and your values, your community's values. We're about family here. We're about decency. We're about ethics. We're about a just and equitable society for all here at Ray's Talk Show. And how do you have your values reflected in government? Like Leo talked about earlier, starting local, running for school board, running for, in the case of a young woman in his community, running for state senate, and now tipping the legislative scales in a state like Washington, which has a large and vibrant community. Like friends of mine, like Maria de Gambra, a former colleague who now is the mayor pro tem of Winchester, Colorado, a Venezuelan immigrant, Leo. This woman is very, very dynamic, very sharp, former coworker of mine, who now just got on city council in her community in suburban Denver a few years ago, and now is the mayor pro tem of the city. She just got inducted yesterday. So, mucho respeto a nuestra Maria de Cambra, one of our great friends. So there's a lot of good leadership bubbling up, stepping up to the plate. We have to support them, Leo, and I know that these are the kind of conversations that resonate with you and your audience.
Yeah, no, these are things I've been talking about on the Perales Report. Definitely, I've been doing a lot of episodes on women, because whether it's been the whole Me Too movement with the whole calling out people who commit sexual assault, or it's women who are running locally, or for state positions. We have a woman who just announced last week that she's going to run for the 9th LD spot against a Republican, because over here in Washington, after the Democrats have taken over the branches of government, there's a lot of momentum, there's a lot of energy, and like I mentioned earlier, are we going to be able to take that energy and translate that into votes and then hopefully into wins, so that we don't have our taxes, so we don't have big tax breaks for the big corporations in our state. So it's just awesome. It's just great to see really progressive individuals win again. I guess that's the new slogan. Let's make America progressive again. Especially over here in Washington.
Yeah, well, I'd start with decency in our leadership. There's no question about that. So, Leo, I think we've come to the part of the show, which is your favorite.
Hey, Ray.
Hey, Ray. What you got to say?
Hey, Ray. Okay, well, I thought we talked enough about Roy Moore, but I thought we could talk about him one last time. Do you think this whole Roy Moore situation is going to be a detriment to the Republican Party if he is elected?
Yeah, it definitely will, because it's never going to go away. The first questions will be, if he is elected. And again, I'm not assuming he's going to lose. That is going to be a nip and tuck fight down there, unfortunately, in Alabama. Do they allow him to caucus? Do they force him to resign? Do they censure him? Some would argue it's actually in Democrats' best interest going into next year that he wins, because he's just never going to. And let me tell you, that guy, you put that guy, those DC microphones in front of him, you put him on Fox News, you put him, you get the DC press corps getting comments from this guy, he's going to keep putting his foot in his mouth. The avalanche of nonsense that's going to come out of his mouth, that's going to come out day to day to day. These are trickles. There'll be a story, I guarantee you, every day this week. Another woman will come out, another story will come out, another issue will rise to the surface. So he's as long as he's in the political arena, he's going to be a detriment to the Republican Party. The question is, what do we do about it as a nation to react to that? Because the federal Senate electoral map is not friendly, all things being equal to Democrats. So, so that's something that we'll have to continue to it will be, but that's not going to be enough.
Yeah. And for everyone out there, the Washington Post did a very good article on expulsion, because how Cory Gardner said that if he's elected that the Senate will expel him. Well, that's a very high bar to accomplish, and it's only been done 15 times, and all those other times was done during the Civil War. So it's been a long time since they've done that, and it also requires 2/3 of the Senate, of the chamber, to expel Roy Moore. So again, I guess this will be news if he does win here in the coming weeks. My next question is about the DNC and the rigged nominating process. I'm sure you saw in the last week or so, Donna Brazile came out with her book titled Hacks, the inside story of the break-ins and breakdowns that put Donald Trump in the White House. Do you feel like this is a big issue of the Democrats? And also, do you feel that maybe Donna Brazile wrote this book to kind of save face after she was caught giving questions to Hillary Clinton?
Well, I think, first of all, Donna Brazile wrote this book to get paid. So that's the first thing. I think, it is, although Donna Brazile in subsequent interviews, after sort of you got past the initial headlines and sort of clarifying what she was trying to explain, I think sort of eloquently put it like, hey, everyone else gets to tell their story it's important to hear mine. Donna Brazile has done a lot for this country, done a lot for the Democratic Party. That being said, Donna Brazile, as much as anybody, has been part of the Democratic establishment for the last 25 years. Let's not forget that she ran President Gore's, candidate Gore's campaign, which one would argue could have been run a little better, and despite that, probably won, and has been part of the I've met. In one of her tours of duty as the DNC chairwoman, Leo, I've met with her in the DNC, and I remember telling her directly, where is the diversity in this building? Where are the quality of people that should be leading the DNC day to day as part of her staff? And so, the DNC as a sort of entity and sort of a DC, part of the DC establishment had just been off tune for quite some time. I'm hoping Tom Perez can get it together. But I think it's important that we hear Donna Brazile's story. But at the end of the day, Donna Brazile has been part of the establishment that led us to these issues for quite some time.
Yeah, I don't know. I did an episode on it. I kind of feel like she's doing it to save face, and I did give her credit where credit's due. She's done a lot for the Democratic Party, the DNC, and like you said, it's good to see African American, especially women, in the higher echelon of the party. But I just kind of feel like it was kind of fake, and she's just doing it because she got caught, propping up Hillary Clinton.
She wants to get paid, Leo. She want to get paid, dog. Leo, let me tell you something. If somebody came to you in a couple of years and say, hey, Leo, let's say you and I have a bad breakup. You know what I mean? Like, in a year and a half, we don't work together. And for whatever reason, I get a little more notoriety, and someone comes to you and say, hey, Leo, lucky Leo, why don't you write this memoir? And I'm going to slip you $700,000. And why don't you give us the real story, quote unquote? You're going to do what you're going to do, and I wouldn't blame you. And so all Donna Brazile saying, she sees the Clintons with 8-figure book deals. She sees all these clowns leaving the Trump administration, like what was the spokesperson's name? Spicy, and all these clowns making money on the talk TV circuit and book deal circuit and college circuit, and Donna Brazile said, "Why not me?" So that's and that sentiment's even off-putting. But at the end of the day, there is a business element here that you can't deny.
Yeah, no doubt. Last but not least, I'm sure you saw the Latino Victory Fund 60-second ad that depicted a white man in a pickup truck with a Confederate flag and a Gillespie bumper sticker chasing a group of minority children. Many media outlets, especially right-wing ones like Fox News, call the ad vile. I'm sure you saw it. What do you think? And do you think this kind of sets back progressive Latino groups?
It's really interesting because the pushback and the accusations of our intentions when we simply point out racism, and when we point out how we honestly feel, our own opinion on something, our sentiment, our feeling on it, how we are accused in a way that is much more that should be in the same manner, more of a similar manner, of the people that are actually executing the divisiveness, executing racist policies, executing this sort of atmosphere of hatred and threats to people like us. Let me tell you something, Leo. There was nothing wrong with that ad, because the people like Ed Gillespie, who put out ads basically, scaring white people in Virginia, using images of Latinos as gang members, essentially not denouncing the behavior of those white supremacists that rallied in Charlottesville, that put out ads related to African Americans and being incarcerated, that spoke to racial animus in Virginia. So you spit out racism rhetoric. You support on some level the administration like Donald Trump that uses race to divide our country. And when we simply respond with how it makes us feel, and how what we see the sort of dog whistle, we hear the dog whistle that's being blown, then we're accused of something in line with what you're doing. So let me tell you something. I live 20 minutes from Center City, Philadelphia. I live in one of the largest urban areas in the country. I live in one of the largest bastions of Democratic and progressive voting bases. Again, I live 20 minutes from Center City, Philadelphia, and I have guys that drive around and pick up trucks in my neighborhood with Confederate flags. And guess what? When one of them is behind me, I make a turn and get away from them because I'm scared, and I think I have a right to be scared and concerned about what kind of ill will this person may have toward me and my children when they're driving around with a Confederate flag. Confederates were treason. Were committed treason against our country. Why are we supporting them? Because of the culture of slavery that you want to harken back to? These people live in Jersey. This wasn't even part of the South, Leo. And they're projecting this. So absolutely not. We need to be honest. It was provocative, but it was honest. It was raw. And I commend the Latino Victory Fund for expressing what a lot of us are feeling every day.
And that's funny that you mentioned the Confederate flag, because today, you mentioned the license plate. A gentleman had a license plate that I saw today with the Confederate flag in the front. For me, I'm a big guy. I know you haven't seen me in real life, but I'm a little over 6 foot, about 290. So I'm a big guy. And so I told him, hey, I hope you note that the South lost the war. You can take that down. And he goes, no, we did it. Donald Trump's president. So, I mean, you definitely have that type of rhetoric and belief out there that the South is bad.
Well, man.
Yeah, he told it like it was.
He just told it like it is, right? So if you were so for you expressing your opinion, you're accused of being racist. I mean, that's absolutely ridiculous,
Well, awesome. Well, that's it for Hey Ray, and I appreciate those comments. That last one, you really dropped the mic.
Well, hey, man, we're trying. We got to keep it real. And much respect to our great friend who runs the Latino Victory Fund, Cristobal Alex, a guy who has Washington State roots. I think he went to university and at University of Washington. I know he likes to travel back to your state, so hopefully we can get him on the Perales Report. Cristobal is actually originally from El Paso. He's a Western Texas guy originally, but has a lot of love for your part of the world. I was watching hoops the other day. I was watching my beloved 76ers balling. We got some really young, exciting players, and it harkened back. I remember when your state had an NBA basketball team, Leo, and I remember the Seattle Sonics, the Supersonics, and I remember Sean Kemp, Nate McMillan, Gary the Glove Payton, Jack Sigma back in the days. And I remember when you guys used to ball out. So I just wanted to note that because I love basketball so much, and I'm really happy I have a legitimate NBA team now, and I see all the success your franchise has had in Oklahoma City, and I'm really hoping in the near future they get an NBA team one way or another back in Seattle, because it's still a great NBA and a great sports town.
Yeah, no, I'm hoping and praying too. I think the first sports team that we're going to see here is perhaps a NHL team coming very soon to Key Arena. They're making improvements to Key Arena right now. But yeah, I want a basketball team. I went into lots of Sonics games as a kid, and now I want to take my son to a game. And we're actually working on trying to find some time to go up to Portland, because Portland's not that far away from where we live over here in Washington too. And so, but yeah, you really hit a hard spot right now. I was thinking about Gary Payton, Sean Kemp, Detlef Schrempf. God, I mean,
Detlef Schrempf. Those are great. Those were great. I mean, they didn't get past the Bulls, but it wasn't because they weren't. I mean, they just couldn't get back to Bulls. It wasn't because you guys couldn't play. I mean, they were really good teams. Really, I was always had a lot of love for the Sonics, brother.
Yeah, that's when basketball was fun. It's still fun, I guess, in a way, but it's just not the same. It has been the same to me in the last couple of years. When you had.
Nah, hey, can't be blamed, man. The Trailblazers aren't the same, But Leo, appreciate you, brother. As always, let people know where they can find you on social media and the Perales Report.
Please go ahead and search the Perales Report. You can find me on Facebook, YouTube, and on SoundCloud. If you want, you can go ahead and follow me on Twitter at Leo Perales. I have lots of cool projects coming up. I'm actually interviewing a woman who's running for Congress in the 4th Congressional District this weekend. That's going to be a very, very good interview. It's really one of the first interviews she's done with a podcast. So I'm going to ask her some very hard-hitting questions, and then hopefully in the next week or so, I will be interviewing the incumbent who's over here in the 4th Congressional District. So please look me up, the Perales Report.
Excellent, and hope to see people in Washington, D.C. this weekend, especially on Sunday for the Unity March for Puerto Rico. I want to again commend my local leadership like Quetzal Lozada, Joanna Otero Cruz, who are currently on the island delivering some of the supplies and support that we've been collecting here in my local community. So we will be standing up and be presente in Washington, D.C. this Sunday. So definitely we'll keep people abreast of what's happening on the island, the ongoing humanitarian crisis. You can check out Ray's Talk Show anywhere you can download a podcast, on social media at Ray's Podcast, and check out our website, rayspodcast.com. And if you, particularly if you're interested in podcasting, you have a podcast, you want to collaborate with me and Leo, or just have an idea for the show, you can email us at podcastrays@gmail.com. That's podcastrays@gmail.com. Thank you, Leo, brother. We'll be in touch real soon, man, and have a great week.
Thank you. You too. Nos vemos.